Why play a protection warrior? What is more iconic in an RPG than a guy with a shield and a sword? Hard to answer that one correctly, but nevertheless we are playing a role-playing game, which means that to take on a big dragon we need a guy adept at taking the hit so his party can kill that dragon for that fat loot. This guide will focus on understanding the protection warrior and your role within a fight. If you want to skip to a particular chapter of our video, you can find the timestamps in the description below. Also, if you are new to our channel, hit that subscribe-a-do button to get notified of our videos. We got them all: PvP, PVE, machinimas, guides, everything for WoW and Heroes of the Storm. As a protection warrior and the obvious tank, your role remains to hold aggro and control the fight. Your resources rage, and you build rage from dealing damage and taking damage. You spend rage on your abilities, and properly managing your rage will make or break your playstyle. To start things off, we will be looking at the talent build and work our way from there. For level 15, we'll be taking a look at Shockwave as one of the best choices, especially if you are doing 5-man dungeons. Using Shockwave will stun and damage enemies in a cone in front of you for 3 seconds. Hitting 3 or more targets will reduce the cooldown to 20 seconds. The skill is amazing to bypass certain spells that cannot be silenced, and since the targets will not deal damage for those 3 seconds, you can use this in a pinch to give your healer time to put you back up. At level 30, the only viable choice for mythics and raids is Inspiring Presence, giving your party 3% leech on all the damage they deal. The talent scales better the bigger the party or the raid is. The third tier brings us two possible choices between Avatar, which is simply a DPS boost for 20 seconds by 20% on a 1.5 minutes cooldown, and the other option being Renewed Fury, a 10% DPS boost for 6 seconds after you activated Ignore Pain. With the increase in magic damage the current content puts out, I personally preferred Renewed Pain since you will be weaving Ignore Pain in your rotation and works even better in 5-man dungeons. The fourth tier has one viable option in Bounding Stride, reducing the cooldown on our leap, giving us extra mobility. For our level 75, things become interesting. I would recommend Indomitable for those of you who are gearing up and struggle with surviving, giving you extra HP and boosts the shields giving by Ignore Pain. Once you have adjusted to the playstyle though, I recommend Devastator. This talent replaces the Devastate skill, which is a free cast skill that deals moderate damage and has a chance to reset Shield Slam. It will be replaced with a passive Devastator, making all your auto attacks deal more damage and have a chance to reset Shield Slam, taking Devastate off of your action bar and giving you a chance to press other buttons, saving you a global cooldown. For level 90, there is a choice between Vengeance and Booming Voice. Vengeance is a big talent that changes your rotation and gives you the option to reduce the rage cost of Revenge after you use Ignore Pain, and reduce the rage cost of Ignore Pain after you use Revenge. It's an interesting talent that works well with Renewed Fury and Devastator, giving you a defensive and offensive component in the fact that you will be hitting these spells more often. However, the best choice I still come down to is Booming Voice. That boosts your demoralizing shout to give you a whopping 60 rage and increase the damage you deal to affected targets by 25%, making it one of the most important cooldown spells in your arsenal. The usage of the spell can vary from oh shit situations when you need that extra rage or you want to reduce the damage you take. Or it can be used on large packs of mobs to quickly burn them down, increasing your DPS in the process, of course. All of the choices so far culminate with Anger Management at level 100, a talent that reduces the cooldown of Demoralizing Shout, Last Stand, Battle Cry and Shield Wall by 1 second for each 10 rage you spend. With the rage generation potential of your Devastator and Booming Voice, you will essentially have the cooldowns up for almost every possible fight within your encounter. We talked about a few spells from the talent tier, so let's visit the rest of the important ones. To generate rage or resource, we will mainly spam Shield Slam on cooldown, which deals a large amount of damage and generates 20 rage. Shield Slam can be reset by Devastate or Devastator, since we got the talent earlier, Thunderclap, a simple AoE damage spell that also generates 5 rage, as well as Revenge, a frontal AoE attack that consumes 30 rage and deals high damage. Once you have enough rage, you will try to keep up Shield Block on you, which consumes 15 rage, has 2 charges, and for 6 seconds you block all melee attacks. This will be your main mitigation spell and debatably the strongest one in your kit. While Shield Block is active on you, Shield Slam does 30% more damage. You can block and critical block attacks. Blocking means you take significantly reduced damage from attacks, 40% for instance, and critical blocks mitigate double that amount. The other rage consuming mitigation spell is Ignore Pain, that eats up from 20 to 60 of your rage, giving you a shield based on the rage spent. The shield will absorb 90% of any damage you take and will be your choice for magical damage mitigation or physical if you run out of shield block charges. You can stack Ignore Pain on yourself to a limit equal to 180 essential rage worth of Ignore Pain, so 3 total max Ignore Pains. Whew, wow, hope you're not confused. The other spells we will be taking a look at are your cooldowns. Cooldowns are strong spells with a bigger cooldown than your rotation spells, and they almost always are defensive and offensive cooldowns. The only offensive cooldowns we have are Battle Cry, that gives us 100% crit chance for 5 seconds, best used every time it's up, and Demoralizing Shout if you took Booming Voice. The defensive cooldowns are quite a few. Demoralizing Shout again reduces the damage enemies affected due to you by 20% for 12 seconds. Shield Wall gives you 40% damage reduction for 8 seconds. Spell Reflect gives you 30% magical damage reduction for 5 seconds and also reflects the first spell back at the caster. All of them with the artifact trait Reflective Plating, and also increases the magical damage reduction by an additional 20% again with the artifact trait. Last Stand is our only reactive cooldown, and we use it after we take a big hit to help our healers top us off. And lastly, Neltharion's Fury, the artifact ability, shoots out fire in front of you for 3 seconds as a channeled spell, during which you will critically block all melee attacks. You can also use defensive abilities while channeling, such as Ignore Pain. The last few spells I will go over are no less important, but we will quickly showcase them. Intercept is our charge skill that generates rage when used on an enemy, and when used on an ally protects them from the next enemy basic attack. Leap is our second mobility spell, which is great when used to reposition yourself in a fight or dodge a nasty mechanic from a boss. With the 2 charges of Intercept and the Bounding Stride talent for Leap, the warrior has one of the best mobility in the game. Taunt is an obvious one, make the guy attack you no matter who has the aggro on him. Good when tank swapping in raids. Berserker Rage removes fears and sap effects, and you can use it to bypass mechanics such as the fears in Maw of Souls. Heroic Throw is your range pull spell if charging is not an option. I won't go over the rotation since I believe it's more important to know why certain spells have priority than to simply press the buttons because some guy says so. When you start the fight and all throughout it, you will want to spam Shield Slam. It has the biggest single target damage and provides the most rage with the exception of Demoralizing Shout with Booming Voice. Make sure Shield Block is on you as much as possible, if you are taking auto attacks and not just spellcasts, of course. Once you reach high enough rage, pop Ignore Pain so you don't cap on rage. Also use Ignore Pain if you will be taking magical damage. When all of the above are not in question, try resetting Shield Slam with Thunderclap and Revenge if you need more AoE damage. Also, spam Revenge when the free casts proc from your dodges and parries. Use Shield Wall and Demo Shout to prevent high amounts of damage, and use Last Stand after you've taken high amounts of damage. Depending on your anger management, you will learn to rotate them throughout a dungeon or raid. Just make sure you don't pop all of them at the same time. Lastly, I want to talk about rage management really quick. Aside from building rage with Shield Slam and dumping it into Shield Block and Ignore Pain to mitigate the respective damage type, you can try to stay at about 80-90% rage. If you aren't taking magical or huge damage in general, avoid capping rage by pressing Revenge, ideally when Shield Slam is on cooldown, so you can get the reset. Everything else is muscle memory. Practice at a training dummy until you feel comfortable enough. In terms of gearing, I will talk about two legendaries in particular. The Bracers, which heal you based on rage spent, and the Soul of the Battlelord ring, which gives you the Vengeance talent. Once you have the ring, you will try to always use Revenge and Ignore Pain back to back, increasing the amount of rage you retain from using these skills, only to spend it more often on them. This gives you more Ignore Pains and more Revenges, both a DPS and a defensive boost. Other than this, you want high item level gear, focused heavily on haste, while crit is your worst stat. Haste gives you more Devastator hits, faster recharge on Shield Block, Shield Slam, Revenge and Thunderclap. Everything revolves around haste, so get it now. Hope you have a better understanding of the Protection Warrior now, and we can see more tanks out there in Azeroth. If you found the information useful, hit us with a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for updates on new guides, highlights and more. Your support really helps us out, and we appreciate all the feedback we get from you guys in the comment section. See you next time, guys. Peace!